Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence, and All Things Considered, member-supported Hawaii Public Radio, and thank you for joining us today. We have a very special guest who is in town doing a string of dates at the Blue Note through Sunday in Honolulu before heading on to the MAC July 28th, July 29th at KCC, July 30th, wrapping up her tour of Hawaii at Honoka'a People's Theater. It's Joan Osborne. Aloha, Joan. Thanks for taking some time for us.
Thank you so much for speaking to me. It's a pleasure to be here on the islands.
Is this your first time? Have you got any experience with Hawaii we need to know about?
Well, I've been here to play a couple of private shows, and I have a sister and brother who used to live here on the Big Island on Hawaii, so I've visited them. So I've been here a handful of times, but these are the first public concerts that I've ever done on Hawaii, so it's pretty exciting.
Those private gigs are fun. Was that with any of the big superstars you've been associated through your storied career, or just your own little gigs, or what was it?
Just my own gigs, yeah.
Those are fun. What islands?
Maui. Both times was Maui, yeah.
They're cool. They drag a lot of people out here, and then the residents, we never know about it. We hear like we get little glimpses of it. Oh, it was Elton John, and at the these private shows on the beach. Bon Jovi is another one. Lyle Lovett. I remember a lot of them actually that come through here. Best was they had Al Green play a surprise show on the street in Waikiki when I first moved here.
Oh my God, that's amazing. How was it?
It was very good. And when I think about your career, when I first got in, I mean, Joan. For a lot of folks, the one of us may be their starting point, but I remember in college radio, this show at WERS at Emerson College, late at night, they had this bluesology, they called it Monday through Friday, and I remember going in and my friend Dan was playing, and I said, who is this that you're playing? He goes, oh, it's Joan Osborne. It was the Soul Show record, I guess it was. And so when I think about mentioning Al, and we dial back to perhaps you getting into music and where it begins with, what was it that sparked the passion that has led to all of this success and certainly an incredible career?
Well, it's definitely the blues. I mean, I moved to New York City when I was young to go to college, and I thought I was going to become a documentary filmmaker. I went to NYU Film School, and I just accidentally sort of stumbled onto this music scene that was going on, and there was a lot of blues bands and blues clubs in New York City at that time, and that became just my real love. I ended up spending all this time doing open mic nights and meeting other musicians and putting bands together and going to see their bands and spending all the money that I should have been spending on my classwork to buy like Etta James records and Howlin' Wolf records and Al Green records, and I just became obsessed, and that was really my love, was the blues music. Just the expressiveness and the depth have always, it's a well that you can keep going back to again and again. It's always been a passion for me.
And funk, too, because I remember that record had some real funky sort of numbers on there. It's very hard to remember. We're going back decades, but it was because when one of us was big, I was like, she's already been around, because people were like, oh, this new one. I was like, no, she's had a really soulful, just smoking live record. What was, when you were a kid, what was your first album and your first concert that you were exposed to music through?
Wow. I think my first album was probably a John Denver album when I was very young. We had one of those like RCA club things. My brothers and sisters and I, we grew up in a very small town in Kentucky, so there wasn't a whole lot of music going on there, but we got those like RCA club cassettes, and the John Denver one I remember really loving, and the Elvis Live from Hawaii was another big one. So those were the two. We went back and forth with those and would act them out and stuff. So
oh, that kind of lends itself to some of your other aspirations. And how about the first concert?
The first concert, I think it was probably not until high school. I think I was a sophomore in high school, and I saw Van Halen. That was the first concert I ever went to. I was very impressed with the like leaping splits. Who was it?
What year was this?
This was probably like 1977 or 1978. So it was David fronting Van Halen, and it was super high energy show, and we had like nosebleed seats way in the back, but that was probably the first concert I ever went to.
It wasn't the Sabbath Van Halen tour, 78, the Never Say Die tour.
No, it was not with Sabbath, no.
All right, because it's we actually saw Van Halen with Dave on one of the they did a reunion. Thinking this actually works into talking to you, they in 2012 one of their reunion tours with Dave, they went out, and the reason that we flew from here to both Vancouver and the Seattle area to see them. They had Kool and the Gang opening.
Oh my gosh, Kool and the Gang. That's a great opener. What a great choice. Wow.
Very Bill Grahamish, huh? I knew it was, so I figured you would dig that. And so from the path to college, what was it that it kind of got this? Because your voice is a stunning gift to have. Not everybody has something like that. When was it that you realized, I can sing?
Well, I did a lot of singing when I was in like junior high school. I had a great music teacher, a woman named Carolyn Browning, who taught at my school, and she had this program where she really kind of challenged the students, and we did like 5 and 6 part harmony things and old English madrigals and that sort of stuff. And she kind of singled me out and always gave me extra things to do and gave me solos to sing. And I think she was the first person who really encouraged me and said, you can do this. And I guess I didn't really take it to heart in the sense that I thought I was going to have any sort of career. Because, again, I grew up in this little town in Kentucky, and the thought of doing anything like that just seemed like a pipe dream, But it wasn't until much later, when I was later in high school, that I started to sort of fall under the spell of people like Patti Smith and Chrissie Hynde and Aretha Franklin, and just not that I thought that I could ever do that, but just to see how your voice and your music could have this effect on people, and how you could be a figure like this in our culture through music. That was that's something that really impressed me at that time.
That's cool. Well, that's shows you the impact that music education in schools can have on people, and certainly great teachers that can be a mentor and sort of pass along lessons like that years and years later end up becoming the story of your life in so many ways.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with a woman named Audrey Martels. She's been doing some backup singing for me, and she said the same thing. She said there was a teacher who really changed her life and turned her whole head around by introducing her to music. And I think there's so many stories of people that I know that are like that, so it's such an important thing.
Yeah, and it can help people have it can be such a different road that a child would go on without a teacher who can help nurture them into a positive direction. So it's a really deep thing, actually, on many, many levels, even besides just music. I grew up in the Philadelphia area, so Eric Bazillion of the Hooters is the Hooters. Not many people might remember, but if you grew up there, radio really tried to support them. Yeah, radio really went like overboard. They did that Riding on the Escalator of Life tune, I think. I can't remember one of their. They had all these tunes that they would play as part of the rotation on MMR and maybe YSP too. But what led to getting to meet him, or how did the song come to be in your hands that then became the song that you're known, by millions of people for?
Yeah, well, the album that we were working on at the time, the Relish album, he and the other guy in the Hooters, Rob Hyman, were brought in by the producer because he was actually a college friend of theirs and thought that we would be a good combination, and thought we had a lot of things in common of sort of love for roots music and that sort of thing. So he brought us together in the studio, and we started writing things together. And the song Saint Teresa came out of those sessions. The song Spiderweb came out of those sessions. That whole Relish album came out of those sessions. And one day, Eric walked into the sessions, was like, "Hey, check out this new song that I just woke up at 4:00 in the morning and wrote." And he had it in mind to present to that band Crash Test Dummies. You remember that Canadian band with the guy with the super low voice? And so he had made a demo of the song with himself singing it in this super like dirgy low voice and played it for us, and we were like, oh, that's kind of a cool song. But Rick Chertoff, the producer, was like, you should give that song to Joan and let her try it, because I think that might be a hit song. And I was like, really? What? We tried it, and the thing that I really connected to with the lyrics was how it was almost like this little innocent child coming up and tugging on your sleeve and asking you a question that you don't have a ready answer for, in the way that kids will do. They'll just go right to the heart of something and ask you something that you have no ready answer for. So I felt like my take on it, rather than try to imitate this sort of low, dirgy thing, was to give it kind of a quality of innocence, because I felt like it was an innocent and yet penetrating question. And so that was sort of my spin on it. And I think that's one of the things that people have said that they enjoy about it is that it's a song that asks you a question and doesn't tell you what you're supposed to think. And I think it's all there in the song that Eric wrote, you know.
Yeah, that is one of those big rhetorical sort of hard thing to put an answer to. And it must be so intense as a performer to have like riding the wave of that. I mean, who was, can you remember like management or somebody coming to you, you're not going to believe this, the song is now, and the song is now. I mean, as this thing just, it's like the space shuttle going off. Because I've done these interviews with a lot of people, so I can just imagine the pride, the satisfaction, the excitement, telling people, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. I mean, can you reflect on a moment when that was occurring with that song?
Yeah, I mean, I think because we were touring behind the record for about 8 months before the song even took off as a single. So we had kind of been out there and working it and working it and working it. And, you know, that's one of the things that I love the most about doing music is live performing. So we were kind of just doing what we always did. And then then the song sort of had a life of its own, and the video became this thing. And I started, like, I didn't tell people about it, but I started getting all these calls from my friends of like, hey, I saw you on such and so, and hey, you know, they keep playing this video again and again, and hey, you know, my cousin, you know, said that he saw you here and there, and it was like we kind of felt like we had been doing the same thing that we were always doing, and suddenly everybody was noticing.
What a cool thing. It's got to be a powerful experience and deeply satisfying. And just a couple more questions. I'll let you go because I know they have a fabulous dinner planned for you that's on its way. You get these opportunities later, and just touching on some of these cats, working with the guys in the Dead. I saw him 44 times with Jerry. I saw Jerry about 8 times. God bless him. What led to the opportunity to get to be part of that entourage and do the things that you did?
Well, it was really just that we had the same booking agent at the same time, and he knew that they were planning on going out again in like a post Jerry incarnation, and he knew that they were going to be looking for some additional musicians to fill out the lineup, and he suggested me, and they were like, okay, we'll give her a try. So I flew out to San Francisco. It was myself and Warren Haynes, and we flew out to San Francisco and did a gig with them. And you know, I think because I came up learning about blues and roots music, and of course that's so much of what their music is made of, and that's sort of the DNA of their music. So we had kind of a common language in that sense, and it seemed to work really well. And I had not been a big Deadhead before I got that call, but as I was learning the songs to sing with them, I realized what an amazing body of work it is and what an amazing catalog of songs it is. So I really kind of became a Deadhead and a real appreciator of that through working with them. And it was a nice combination. It was a great time.
Who'd you connect with the most of those cats?
Man, that's hard to say. I think Bobby was sort of the friendliest right off the bat, and Kreutzmann and I really got along. And of course, I've worked with Phil a bunch, and and Mickey is what a character and what an interesting guy, and he took me to Washington D.C. and introduced me to a lot of sort of political power brokers that he was friendly with, and kind of wrapped it down for me about how the system works out there, and that was very interesting too. So I think I had an interesting connection with each one of them. It was kind of like hanging out with your 4 eccentric uncles, you know.
Oh, that's a great description. And I can imagine that they would have that sort of take you under the wing kind of approach with somebody like yourself. And it wouldn't be right to not have mentioned you did the very unusual thing with Cheap Trick, right? That was a strange sort of endeavor. Any reflection on that, memories of doing that?
Yeah, it was, again, that was some call that came out of the blue, and I had been a big Cheap Trick fan when I was growing up, and to get a call from them to say, would you like to come to Las Vegas and do this Sgt. Pepper's live with us, and then we're going to do it at the Hollywood Bowl, and I mean, you're not going to say no to something like that. You find space in your calendar to make something like that work, you know.
You build a relationship at all with those cats, or is that sort of it?
We did that tour and those shows, and I've seen them here and there, but we haven't worked together again like that.
Vivian Campbell from Dio's band. Didn't you? You did something with him too, and on his solo record. What was he like getting to work with?
Oh, sweetest, most humble guy, and super generous and wonderful, and very wonderful experience.
Were you a Dio fan?
I had not been a Dio fan. That one I missed. I was asleep on that one. So
Does such a good solo on the Last in Line, the song, the title track from that record. So when have you ever even heard that?
I think people played that for me before I went into the studio with him because I was like, hey, who's this Vivian Campbell dude? And they were like, what? Check this out.
That is an epic one. Yeah, that's he did a lot of great work, and he's been through a lot too. And hopefully, he's healthy and well. He's definitely got a full plate. And as do you. You have an incredible lineup that's going on here doing this, and it's a stripped-down show for fans who are interested in coming out here. You want to just describe the show that's in store for people across the state who are going to be coming to see you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, as you say, it's a very stripped-down show. We're taking all these songs that people will know from the full band versions from the albums and kind of breaking them down to their very bare essence. And we've been doing it as a duo, myself and Keith Cotton, for a little while now. We do these shows, and it's been great. We've been getting amazing reaction from the fans because it's a very intimate experience. And on the one hand, there's nowhere to hide because it's just your voice and the piano. But on the other hand, there's all these subtleties in the music that you can play around with that will get lost when you're doing something with a full band. And I love both of those things. And the full band has an energy and a fun about it that I love as well. But this is like a listening experience, and it's very emotional, I think, for people to hear these songs in this way and to have it be kind of naked in that way.
There's a lot of nuance that's available. That's a great way of describing it. And here in Hawaii, people really like the storytelling kind of culture. So I think it's a great format to bring here to the islands in particular. This is Joan Osborne. She's through Sunday at the Blue Note, and then again July 28th at the MAC, July 29th KCC, July 30th Honoka'a People's Theater. And a great pleasure to have had you on All Things Considered with us, and wishing you nothing but the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.